there's no point not
Why
to.
not? Why
Just
not?
keep on going.
Backseat basketball. Welcome, guys. Where amateurs take the wheel. It only took us, like 2 Periscope outtakes, 3 intros.
And don't forget the entire episode that we deleted earlier. I deleted. I don't mean to throw the we in there. I deleted. My bad, guys.
Someday, maybe, if the universe is accepting, they'll give us like the untold episode 5 or 6 or whatever. Whatever last week was supposed to be. I guess week 7. This is week 7. It was supposed to be week 7 last week. You did an episode, and it just wasn't meant to be published. It got deleted. It happens.
Yeah, let's just move on. I mean, we probably
we don't need to talk about it.
I flubbed up. I messed up bad. My bad. And to be honest, I talked for about an hour. Well, 45 minutes. And it was really good. It was probably the best one I've ever done. Probably the best one I ever will do.
Probably 95% Trailblazers, right?
There was a sprinkling of Trailblazers, but it was mostly the Eastern Conference. I talked about what we were going to talk about tonight, so it definitely got thrown in a little bit.
Excellent. So Backseat basketball, where amateurs take the wheel. I'm Jeffrey Buettner. Next to me, as always,
is Rob Stanford. I thought you were going to introduce me. I'm Rob. You can find me at Dr. Hot Robbie, and you can find him on Twitter at Jeffrey Buettner.
You realize you can never change Dr. Hot Robbie now. You're famous for Dr. Hot Robbie.
I don't know about famous. I have like 700 followers.
That's good, man. That's good. That works.
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. So this week, like 2 weeks ago, we're going to do a little bit of a conference breakdown, talk a little bit about what's been going on in the association for the past couple weeks, but mostly uptick, downtick. How do we feel like off-season wise the Eastern Conference teams have performed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So good stuff as always. Just a little bit of housekeeping, a little tidying up. As always, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Backseat Basketball. You can find us on YouTube, Backseat Basketball. Again, you can always follow us on Twitter with the hashtag Backseat Basketball. We try and take questions every week. We've been jumping on Periscope and doing some funky stuff there. So please, we love the support. And as always, for the fans that have continued to listen, Australia is actually almost beating out Slovakia, which is insane.
Nice.
Yeah.
Way to go, Aussies.
The Aussies are picking up the pace. The Slovakians, again, great viewership, but just they got some competition. Let's say that, right?
Right.
We've got some loyal followers who continue to retweet and tweet and retweet and respond to the podcast. Thank you, as always, Cheeseman and Gabriel, and we appreciate the loyalty. And so let's just jump into it. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me. We're doing this one. I know last time we kind of messed up the order we said we were going to go in. You just want to go alphabetical on this one?
Alphabetical by city. How's that sound?
By city? Okay. Well, then I'll let you be in charge. I got to do my ABCs if we do it that way. I'll get stuck somewhere around L.
We're going to start with A.
Okay.
The Atlanta Hawks. So Atlanta Hawks, we're going to talk with each one of these teams. Who have they brought on? Who's new to the team? Who have they lost? And then we're each going to give thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, thumbs else places. So Atlanta Hawks, notable newcomers, Tiago Splitter, Tim Hardaway Jr., Justin Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Key losses, Damari Carroll, Para Antic, and John Jenkins. Thoughts initially?
Initial thoughts are I don't really think they got that much worse. I think that they're going to be a really good team again. They're going to contend for the Eastern Conference title. Losing Damari Carroll is big, but they brought in someone like Tim Hardaway right behind. And we can talk about that trade. I know we talked about it before. The Tim Hardaway for, what was it, number 19? I know it's to the Knicks. Was it 19, though? Anyway, it turned into Jerian Grant, who's going to be that point guard. So, I mean, the Hawks didn't need a point guard. He was best available. And Tim Hardaway was a first-rounder a few years ago. So I think they did a nice job of replacing Carroll with Hardaway. And really, they did a nice job of replacing Antic with Splitter. So Splitter's a guy that Budenholzer knows real well, too.
Yeah. Yeah, you love Coach Bud. Maybe we should
Coach
talk
Bud.
about it. Maybe we should talk about our bet. Maybe we shouldn't, because it's going to be embarrassing when it happens.
For you.
Yeah, it's going to be embarrassing for me. We'll talk. So the bet was, I was silly, and I made the assumption that, not the assumption, I made the calculated bet that because of new ownership, usually new ownership likes to choose their own coaches. So I made the bet that Coach Bud was going to be replaced. What was it? by mid-2016?
It was April 2016.
By April
so
2016.
Basically the end of the season.
End of the season, next year, my prediction was that Coach Bud was going to be replaced. Well, they went on to do fairly well last year.
Especially him, Coach of the Year.
Coach Bud won Coach of the Year. They did get new ownership, and instead of demoting him, it looks like they're going to promote him. So, good luck. Congrats, Coach Bud. Again, I wasn't rooting against you personally. It was more just a calculated bet, right? And so, congrats. But
calculated badly, but calculated nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a calculated risk, I guess.
Sure.
Calculated risk. I got burned.
It was silly.
We'll
You're
see.
right. That was a good adjective there, using the word silly.
Maybe
on
they
that
just
bet.
go they go 15-67 this year and just fired.
Yeah, but he's not going to get fired after that. He might get fired next year because of that. Come on. Get out of here.
So I think Thiago Splitter, amazing pickup for them. He's got that Spursian. I mean, he's the Spurs are the Hawks of the West. I mean, the Hawks are the Spurs of the East. So it's theoretically he should fit in their system well. Timmy J, you've always loved Timmy Jr., and I think it's a decent pickup for them. The key loss, I think, is Damari Carroll. Pero Antich, I'm just not sure. I've never thought he was good, but he was one of those guys where, for some reason, it's just is he better than I'm giving him credit for?
Well, and the thing about him is it's when I say that Splitter does a nice job of replacing him, they're very different players. Antich is more of a stretch player, and Thiago Splitter is a back to the basket player. So, I mean, I think it's going to change the style a little bit, but no, I don't think Antich is a huge loss.
I think maybe we should do a couple things, and we'll switch the format. Not switch it up, but so uptick or downtick. You went sideways. You went
with the Hawks.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go an uptick.
Uptick,
basically because they didn't really do anything to screw it up.
Interesting. I'm gonna go
mostly, and I think we should have talked about, even though he's not a newcomer, as we mentioned last time, retaining Paul Millsap's big for them.
Yeah, retaining Millsap is huge. I'm going to go down. I think it's a very small downtick. I think maybe Damari Carroll was that glue guy, and it's just hard to say. Where do you think they're going to end up? Maybe we do a little prediction, if any. Do you think so? Do you think they end up in the top 3 in the East?
I could see him being 3. I don't see him being top 2. I could see him being 3 to 5 range, anywhere in there, 3, 4, or 5.
I tend to agree. 3, 4, or 5 seems to be good, and we'll talk maybe some of our other top predictions later. But Boston Celtics, notable newcomers: Terry Rozier, David Lee, Amir Johnson, and R.J. Hunter. Some of the people they lost: Brandon Bass, Luigi Datome, and Gerald Wallace. Up or down, Robbie?
I mean, if you just look at the players, it's got to be up. I mean, Amir Johnson is a very serviceable 4. David Lee coming fresh off a championship from Dub City. I think that, it's an uptick for me, basically because of the players they brought in, but they're not going to be that much better than they were last year.
Interesting. I tend to think this is a little bit of an uptick simply because David Lee is different, but better than Brandon Bass, in my opinion, for what they need, what they're looking for. Amir Johnson, like you said, serviceable big. Gerald Wallace, I don't know why that name sticks out more as I'm not saying it's a significant loss, but
I mean, he used to be really good. He was an athletic player. But ever since he basically got traded to the Blazers, he's been a little bit of a downturn. I think Charlotte was really his last time when he shined, and ever since then he's been really overpaid.
Yeah.
Really overpaid.
Zach Lowe's most recent podcast, they were talking that there's a lot of top office people who think that the Boston Celtics make a significant leap this year, which is kind of surprising. I'm with you.
We'll see. What did they finish last year? They got 7th in the East, right?
8th.
8th.
They got 8th.
8th in the East. I mean, so a significant uptick. Where are you expecting them to finish? I mean, I know it's the East, and they're not going to be, one of the better teams in it. But you've got some up-and-coming teams in the East that are actually, looking to take over that spot. So I think if anything, they stay the same, and that's considered a win. if they finish 8th in the East this year, I think that's a good thing for them.
And the East is kind of weird, though, isn't it? Because it's like...
They should be a lot better than they're playing. Well, it seems like that, right?
Well, and it also seems like there's always 2 or 3 teams that have our lockdown. These teams are definitely going to be top 3, right? You think about the Cavs, you think about the Bulls. This year, maybe you start thinking about the Miami Heat in there.
Maybe bring back the Pacers.
So you kind of have like a top 4 in there, but then it's like 5, 6, 7, 8, even 4 for some reason. Like, to me, 4 feels obtainable, right? It's like it wouldn't surprise me if Celtics went 8, but it wouldn't surprise me if any team ends up 4. Normally that would be a Toronto Raptors, but they just choked so hard. Sorry, Toronto. Much love.
Right, but you can't count out the Wizards. I mean, there's other teams that are coming up. You know, the Bucks are going to be up there.
Yeah, that's true. I do like the Bucks.
We'll get to them.
Yeah, we will. Brooklyn Nets. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson.
The Rook.
Andrew Baranani. Thomas Robb, good old Tommy Robb, a favorite of this show. We love you, Tommy Robb. Are some of the additions that Brooklyn Nets have brought on.
So I got to ask you something. Is Thomas Robinson now your favorite part of the FOE group? Because it can't be the Keefe or the Morris brothers, right?
Dude, Markieff is still a Phoenix Sun. I have to support him. No, I don't know. Yeah, let me think about it. Maybe when the Markieff topic gets brought up, I'll have a better answer for you. I do like Tommy Robb, and Markieff seems to have thrown a little bit salt in my direction.
You especially.
Me especially for some reason.
I think that's the gains they had. They also lost Darren Williams, who really hasn't played up to his contract, but losing a player who has his ability, regardless of how much you're paying him, is going to hurt. They brought in Hollis-Jefferson, and the way they brought him in was by trading Mason Plumlee, who's another key loss. I think that Hollis-Jefferson's going to be good, but you're trading away a proven commodity in Plumlee for that player. And, I mean, it's going to be hard to see. Yeah. For me, it's a downturn. I mean, you're losing Darren Williams, who was a perennial all-star. You're losing Mason Plumlee. You're able to keep Brook Lopez, but at that point, I mean, you bring in Hollis-Jefferson, and that's about it, really. Bargnani's washed. Thomas Robinson has had chances, and he could be really, really good. He's got all the physical tools, but he hasn't done anything yet. It's a what have you done for me lately league, you know?
Yeah, I think losing to Teletovic hurts them, too. To me, this screams rebuilding for Brooklyn Nets. And they're not...
You're just trying to convince yourself to become a Teletovic fan real quick because you know he's the best chance the Suns have, right?
I'm already a Teletovic fan.
All-star.
I've shifted all of my chips.
Mirza for MVP.
No, I do think this is a rebuilding year for Brooklyn Nets. They're going to do similar to what the Celtics have tried to do and what some of these other teams, where they're going to try and rebuild from the middle, right? They're not just dumping... The Blazers, right? They're not just dumping all of their assets for draft picks. They're keeping a few proven commodities, but they're obviously trying to dump some salary. Mason Plumlee, huge loss for them. I think losing Williams might be a little bit of addition by subtraction, but at the same time, it like kind of just because of his salary, and it just didn't seem like a good fit. But at the same time,
long term, you're right, it's not a good fit.
Yeah, long term, it's not a good fit. But at the same time, losing that talent immediately is rough. And do Baranani and Tommy Robb and all these guys make up for it? No, I think it's a downtick. And that being said, it seems like a more serviceable team moving forward, right? They're going to be able, their GM's going to be able to make more moves, it feels like, with a little bit more cap space, a little bit more flexibility. I don't know. So
from like an actual franchise standpoint, maybe a thumbs up. From a team play standpoint, on the court performance, you're looking more towards trending down, right?
Right. I think if they had kept their exact team, they were trending down anyways, and this is kind of...
Well, they were definitely getting older, yeah.
They're throwing some stuff off the side of the boat so they can stay afloat a little bit longer. Charlotte Hornets.
They brought in Nick Batum. Got rid of Noah Vonleh. Brought in Frank Kaminsky. Got rid of Lance Stevenson. Brought in Spencer Hawes. Got rid of Gerald Henderson. Brought in Jeremy Lin. Got rid of Bismack Biyombo. That's a pretty busy offseason.
Yeah. I'm going to go first on this one.
Okay.
I'm going uptick.
I agree.
I like these additions. You start to have some proven talent, maybe not immediately proven, but Spencer Hawes is a serviceable big guy. Jeremy Lin has played big minutes other places. Nick Batum is a solid wing. They lost Lance Stevenson, which for them was, he was a detriment. I think losing Noah Vonleh hurts. You love Vonleh. We get it. At the same time, he wasn't playing too many minutes. I don't think
he was injured.
He was injured. I'm not sure if he would have played too many minutes this next year or if he would have had any kind of impact. But I think these are good. They picked up a good role players to fit around their core that they have already, and role players better than average role players. Nick Batum's
going to start for him.
Oh yeah, and Frank the Tank.
And let's talk about Frank the Tank real quick. I mean, he apparently was, the Hornets were offered, 4 first-round picks from the Celtics to get up to number 9?
Yep.
So think about what Jordan has to feel about Kaminsky to say that he's worth 4 picks. Now, whether that was the right move or not, they have a very strong belief in Kaminsky. So if he can step in and fill that 4 to 5 role, you have Spencer Hawes playing the true definition of a role player, Jeremy Lin backing up Kemba Walker, and that's who benefits the most from this is Kemba because they got rid of Lance Stevenson, and that's, to me, addition by subtraction.
Agreed. Frank the Tank interests me for what you just said, right? They were offered a treasure trove of assets to get that pick by the Suns, the Celtics, a few other teams, and they said no thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm also intrigued by college players who aren't one and done, right? We look at one and done players for their potential. They might be a superstar. Individuals who have played 2, 3, 4 years, they're a little bit more ready right now, right? They can kind of jump in.
Oh, yeah.
And Frank Kaminsky, a 3-point shooting big man, he's the hot commodity. He's like yoga and organic fruit.
Mm-hmm. It's what's in right now.
It's what's in right now. So
Kaminsky's so hot right now.
I like it. And again, I think the Lance Stevenson, addition by subtraction.
I think their biggest loss, aside from Vonleh, is, again, Gerald Henderson. He was a player that had a lot of minutes off the bench for them. I think that they got the better end of, if you look at Gerald Henderson for Nick Batum straight up. But that wasn't the entire trade. So I do think that they did suffer in that trade. I think they brought in someone like Nick Batum who's going to be able to space the floor for Kemba Walker, which is what I'm saying is going to help him this next season. But, at the same time, you're losing 2 really good players, potentially. I think Vonleh is going to be really good, and Gerald Henderson is really comparable to Batum. He just needs the ball a little bit more often.
It's going to be interesting. The Charlotte Hornets kind of always
suck.
I feel like
they underperform every year. I don't mean to say
right.
They suck. They've got a good roster, but every year they seem to underperform a little bit.
And I tend to agree. It seems like when they picked up Lance Stevenson last year, I'm like, they're going to be pretty surprisingly good. Like they might push for that 4 spot, and they obviously didn't do that. And so I'm like, am I just getting? Is it something about Charlotte? I'm not sure. Is it like they switched names? Maybe that's bad luck or something. I'm not really sure. But I think it's an interesting group of guys. Again, I think
we can definitely agree that the Hornets of old were always better than the Bobcats of recent. So changing names probably didn't hurt. If anything, maybe it helped. You don't want to stay the Bobcats, that's for sure.
That's true. Talk about Noah Vonleh for a second, because I know you're big on. Listen, this is where amateurs take the wheel. Rob's got a fandom. I've got a fandom. We hope you guys are fans of certain teams. The only name, not the only name, the name I've heard most over the past 10 days has been Noah Vonleh.
That's because you only talk to me.
Noah Vonleh. Talk a little bit about Noah Vonleh. What do you think he brings to the Blazers?
Immediately, I don't think he brings much. I think that this is going to be a year where he grows. He's a very young player still, even after this year. He's still one of the younger players in the league. I think that it's going to be another year of growing. This is going to be a true rookie season for him. He played 10 minutes. What was it, 10 minutes last season or something stupid, really low. I mean, this is going to be a growing season for him. But at the same time, he's gonna be able to grow into a role. He's got a person in Ed Davis ahead of him who's actually gonna, be able to take that 4 spot and move forward with it. But while Ed Davis is able to control it, I think he's gonna do a good job of growing. I think 3 to 4 years down the road, he's gonna be a great player. I think he's gonna be a great player.
He's got that potential, and
he was talked about being a top 3 pick 2 seasons ago.
Right. And again, we might get in this argument later because of potential Markieff Morris trades, but
I'm not going there.
Well, it's going to be. He's got the potential. It's always a little bit of a crapshoot when we get like in what someone was projected and what they fell to, et cetera, et cetera. But feel free to be done if you want to be done with Noah Vonleh.
Yeah, let's move on from Vonleh. Let's keep on the Eastern Conference. Who's next? We had
Chicago Bulls.
Nice. They didn't really bring in anybody, but again, they were able to keep the core. They brought in a nice rookie with Portis, and I think the biggest change is just the head coach. It's going to be interesting to see what Hoiberg does, and even more interesting to see what Thibodeau had that they now lost.
Agreed. Thibodeau, I think there's like a duality behind Tom Thibodeau. There's a lot of people who love him, who think he's the bee's knees. And there's a lot of people who think he overworks his players. So you have people like Derrick Rose. You have people like Jimmy Butler, Joakim Noah, who have only played for Tom Thibodeau the majority of their career, right? They're used to that extremely hard workout. They're used to going 115%. At the same time, Tom Thibodeau has taken underperforming teams that should have no shot at making the playoffs, and blowing people's expectations out of the water. So
right. Well, I'll kind of do it for like a football comparison, even though this isn't a football podcast. You look at the Buccaneers 2 years ago with Greg Schiano. He was always considered a coach who was very good at what he did, but he worked his players so hard that he kind of came off as more of like a high school or even college coach. And I think that's sort of like the mentality that Tom Thibodeau started to have with his players. And it's harder in the pros to get these star athletes with these giant egos to buy into something when you're really working them to the bone every single time. Like someone like Derrick Rose is willing to put in that work, but at the same time, he's a professional athlete, and they deserve to be treated as such, and they don't want to be treated like the high school or college athlete who's working for something that they haven't earned yet.
They want to be treated like professionals.
Exactly.
And they want to be treated, I think, to some degree, like worthy of, like, I think most, I don't know why, but I get this sense from Tom Thibodeau where it's just like, your job's to come here and give 150%, even if it's at the detriment to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I think players want to know a little bit like, hey, the coach has got my back. I don't know. So, again, I think removing Tom Thibodeau, we're going to be able to see, do they take an uptick? Do they take a downtick? Do players stay healthy? Like, is this the first season where, like, Joakim Noah looks like he's, like, 25 again?
I don't know. No.
Just, like, he's, like, turns blonde and just, like, grows out this Fabio do?
No.
What's
I think
next?
Pau Gasol's already got that for him. After the Bulls, we got the Cavs. We don't really need to spend too much time on them. They kept their team together. A lot of signings. I mean, a lot of re-signings. They were able to re-sign Dellavedova, brought back James Jones, brought back LeBron, brought back from a long time ago Mo Williams, even though that's a new signing, brought back Kevin Love, brought back Iman Shumpert, brought back Timothy Mozgov. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Are we overlooking the bench presence that is the Matrix?
They lost the Matrix. That's right.
Are we overlooking his presence? No, I don't think we are.
No, not at all. I didn't realize I thought that was rhetorical. I thought we were just going to keep moving on. I do want to say one thing, though, about the Cavs, and that's right now their contract negotiations with Tristan Thompson. What are your feelings on that?
I think it's a tough predicament.
Predicament.
I can't like anything with an R in it today. Like
There's no R in predicament.
I
guess there is one, but it's not in the middle of the word.
I realized that, Rob.
Predicament.
Rich Paul. I was thinking ahead to Rich Paul. Rich Paul.
Yo.
I'm sorry, guys. We had a little bit of a hiatus.
And we're still getting back into the swing of things.
We're getting back in the swing of things. I mean, I'm loving the episode so far. It might be a classic. I might put this on the classic playlist.
I mean, it'll never be as good as the one I deleted, but
there you go.
It might be second.
There you go. Rich Paul is a hard-nosed negotiator. We know that.
You mean LeBron James is?
Yeah. LeBron Paul, we'll call him. The company that is Rich Paul and Associates, we'll call that, including LeBron James, are tough negotiators. LeBron obviously has some leverage with the Cleveland Cavaliers. That leverage seems to have run out. I mean, to me, it just doesn't make sense.
I just don't get what the Cavs are doing. Sign Tristan for the max deal. You sort of have to. You've painted yourself in the corner at this point, right? And here's my reasoning behind it. LeBron James signs a 1-year contract. Or I'm sorry, a 2-year contract with the player opt-out. Right?
Right.
So say Tristan Thompson is basically, relegated to accepting the qualifying offer, which is a 1-year contract. What do you think LeBron's doing after this year?
He's not leaving Cleveland because they didn't sign Tristan Thompson.
Oh, he absolutely would.
You think so?
I absolutely think so. I think this whole thing that he's done this offseason is a personal vendetta against Dan Gilbert. And I'm okay with it. But the thing is,
wow.
I don't think he's going to be there if Tristan Thompson's not there. Listen to a couple of things that LeBron said. Our number one, and listen to the way he said it, quote unquote, our number one objective right now is to sign Tristan. He's a huge part of our team, short-term and long-term. He makes our team more dangerous. Things need to be worked out from his side and the Cavs, but we need him back. I think our front office has done a great job this summer. The next step is to get Tristan done. What are the Cavs doing? So listen to what he says. Our number one objective is to sign Tristan Thompson. So now not only is he speaking on behalf of Tristan Thompson and Rich Paul, but he's also speaking on behalf of the Cavs front office. What are you doing, LeBron? Either sign him or don't. I mean, you're making the decisions. Quit dragging us through the mud. I mean, you know what's going to happen, right? He's going to get signed for a max deal. Stop. Stop.
What?
No, stop the game.
Oh, I thought
stop
you were
playing. No, keep going. You go.
I don't think it's smart. Like, so I'm the Cavaliers, right? You're Dan Gilbert. You're like, dude, thank you, LeBron, for coming back to Cleveland. Whatever you need me to do, we'll do it. We'll make you happy. Bring a championship to Cleveland. LeBron's basically asking him to chop off his right foot. So I don't know the specifics on any of their.
But let me just hold on. Let me just do this to carry on that metaphor. What LeBron's done throughout the offseason by having the Cavaliers sign Iman Shumpert to a 5-year deal. It's like cutting off one of Dan Gilbert's toes. Having them re-sign Dellavedova, cutting off another one of Dan Gilbert's toes. After all his toes are gone, cutting off the foot of signing Tristan Thompson really isn't that big of a deal anymore. All your toes are gone.
Right.
Agreed. At this point, it's well, we're all in on the LeBron train. Might as well sign Tristan. Because we definitely don't want LeBron to leave next summer, and we're left with these scrubs on max contracts.
Yeah, but he can still leave next summer if he wants to.
That's what I'm saying. But if they sign Tristan, he won't.
Do you think so?
I know so.
You're the first person that I've ever heard that actually thought that there's a chance he might leave, which I think is interesting. And I think, if you really feel the threat that he might leave, I guess pay Tristan Thompson. To me, it's not a smart move to pay Tristan Thompson almost as much as you're paying Kevin Love. To pay a backup power forward almost as much as you're paying Kevin Love isn't a smart move, especially when you're over the cap and the luxury. They're in something ridiculous where every dollar spent is $3 spent, something retarded. So a $20 million Tristan Thompson contract is going to cost them $30 million plus. And we don't even know what's going on with J.R. Smith.
I bet he's back. It's not LeBron's money he's spending.
Just at the owners' meetings, just Dan Gilbert's weeping in the corner.
It's just I have no control anymore. It's whoever you want, Bron.
I don't.
And here's the thing. To go back to what you're saying, I really don't think LeBron's going to leave next year. But the fact that he has the opportunity to should scare the Cavs enough to sign Tristan to a max deal. Because if they don't do everything to keep LeBron at this point, then they're way more screwed now than they were 2-3 months ago.
I think if the Cavaliers are smart, the win-win is sign and trade. LeBron James is happy because his client, buddy, Rich Paul's client, got a deal. They can theoretically get a serviceable backup power forward for Tristan Thompson from someone who's willing to pay Tristan Thompson's max salary and actually start him. But at the same time, he had one good season. Tristan Thompson had one good season.
Oh, at no point am I saying Tristan Thompson's worth max money.
I know. I keep going back and forth. It's like I just started watching. I finished listening to the Serial podcast. I'm just like back and forth, back and forth. Who did it? Yeah, I don't know if it's going to get done or not. I think sign and trade is smart. Who would he go to? I have no idea. But
yeah, like what team right now is willing to pay a power forward who is a really good rebounder, but whose offensive game struggles? Who's willing to pay that type of player max money? Who, first of all, has that cap room? Second of all, needs that player for that amount. And it's not really that many teams.
Yeah. Maybe like the Utah Jazz. Back up Derek. I'm not sure.
But that's the thing. You're not going to... Yeah, I don't know.
Detroit Pistons. The addition of Stanley Johnson. Ilyasova.
So far, we haven't named every rookie that's been a key addition, but we've named both U of A players.
Yeah. That's not my fault, I don't think. But it could be because I made this list.
Yeah, no, not my fault.
It's not like I'm a U of A fan. I'm actually not. I know that's on a sarcastic tone. And then Marcus Morris, the other Morai. Key losses, Greg Monroe, Caron Butler. Thoughts?
Downturn. You lost Greg Monroe. That was the only player you really need to keep. I don't know if they really wanted to keep him, but if you just look at it, straight number for numbers, downturn for sure. He's an all-star. He's going to be an all-star for the next couple years. He's got a great place there in Milwaukee now. I think that he was a big loss. I don't agree. I don't agree with letting him go, but like I said, they weren't willing to pay him last year. They're not going to pay him this year.
Yeah.
So it's a downturn, but an expected downturn.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if Ilyasova can perform half to what his potential says he can. He might be a good addition for them, allow them to spread the floor. He's obviously been, he's dealt with some injuries. He hasn't played a ton of time, but I'm not sure Marcus Morris does anything there. Do you think Marcus Morris starts? Who's their 3-guard? Their 3 spot over there in Detroit?
I don't know, don't they?
Is it him and Stanley Johnson competing for the 3?
Probably still have Hito Turkoglu back there.
Yeah, I think this is a downtick, but at the same time, SVG, Stan Van Gundy, has been known to take less than desirable pieces that have potential and mesh them together into like a beautiful disaster. Mm-hmm. So if he can harness Stanley Johnson's potential and Marcus Morris's anger and Ilyasova's 3-point shooting, they could maybe put a decent team on the floor. And the thing is, too, the biggest downturn, the biggest mistake for the Pistons always was a clogged paint. So maybe Ilyasova stretches them out a little bit.
And they do have some good guards now. They've got Reggie Jackson. They've still got Brandon Jennings. They were able to bring in a serviceable backup who we didn't mention, Steve Blake. Cantavius Caldwell-Pope still developing. He's going to be a good player. It's going to be interesting. I think that they're going to be, a bad team, but I think they're going to be, not way worse than last year.
Where do you think they end up? And I know I'm throwing this question to you out randomly at certain times.
I'm not sure. I think
they surprise us with
I'd
the 8th
say like
spot.
10. I would say 10 to 12.
I'm going to say they surprise us with the 8th spot.
We need to keep track of this because I feel like you've said about 7 or 8 teams now that should be in the 8th spot.
That's the beautiful part. Is no one can go back and listen to this. And
it's not like it's
wrong.
recorded or anything. All right, next. Who's after the Pistons?
Indiana Pacers. Okay. We added with the Indiana Pacers Monta Ellis, Miles Turner, Jordan Hill, Chase Budinger. The losses, of course, Roy Hibbert, David West, C.J. Watson, Luis Scola.
They got smaller, but I don't think they got that much worse.
The biggest losses are obviously David West. Roy Hibbert hurts them. I mean, he was a good big guy.
I'd rather have Jordan Hill than Roy Hibbert still.
Doesn't it feel weird? For some reason, Jordan Hill is just like, oh, yeah, dude. You should have been a Pacer this whole time.
He looks like a Pacer. Oh, was he a Pacer at one point? I feel like he was.
Maybe that's why
I think he was before the Lakers.
Jersey.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Like, it's like, oh, I can just totally picture him in a Pacer jersey.
I do think they got better, and I think that's not really a popular opinion. I think a lot of people are going to say they got worse because they lost David West, because they got rid of Roy Hibbert. Luis Scola used to be good at some point, not recent, but at some point he used to be good. They brought in Monta Ellis. They're talking about moving Paul George to the 4, which might be a little wonky, but at the same time, I mean, they brought in some shooters. They brought in some slashers. It's gonna be interesting to see. I think that they're gonna be good. It's gonna depend absolutely on Paul George's health, but I like the direction they're headed in. I'm gonna give them a thumbs up.
I like the addition specifically of Monta Ellis. I like Jordan Hill. Miles Turner can theoretically develop into the guy they need him to be. Chase Budinger is a good role player, and I don't think Roy Hibbert, he was a big loss, but he wasn't. Again, I give this an uptick, surprisingly. They were headed downhill. Whether they were going to go downhill this year or next year, when you have David West and you got Roy Hibbert, who's just like slumping around, being all negative Nancy-like, it just wasn't headed for green pastures, in my opinion. So roll the die.
Yeah. And we were wrong about Jordan Hill. He got drafted by the Knicks.
Okay. I don't know why. It's just like I can picture.
He looks like a Pacer, doesn't he?
I can picture him in a Pacer jersey.
Maybe it's because we played so much NBA 2K15 or 14 or whatever year it was that we've played and done so many fantasy drafts. Maybe he just ends up on the Pacers.
Who knows? Miami Heat.
Who'd they bring in? They got Gerald Green. They got Amare, and they got Justice Winslow. Who'd they lose?
No one.
Nobody.
They
brought back Goran Dragic, which is big. They brought back Dwayne Wade, which is also big. So they were definitely able to keep their team together. They brought in a veteran leader in Amare Stoudemire. Who knows if he can still perform, but at this point, he's probably better than whoever was backing up Chris Bosh to begin with anyway. Gerald Green's a slasher, and let's see what happens with Justice Winslow. He's an exciting player.
I think Miami Heat are in the top 3 this year.
I don't think they're in the top 3. Should we do our first bet of the season here?
I'm in.
Okay. What are we doing here? Let's maybe discuss it off air, and then we'll post it on Twitter.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. Maybe we don't disclose the monetary value.
Oh, I don't have any money.
So a slap bet, you say?
Yeah, slap bet for sure.
Yeah, I think they're top 3 team. If no injuries happen, granted that won't be a part of the bet, but
so they have to be a thumbs up because they didn't lose anyone.
Yeah,
but I don't think I think they're borderline playoffs again. I think 7-6 is a good spot for them.
I think Pat Riley breathed his dragon breath on the standings.
His dragon breath. What's that?
I'm not sure. It's
fire? Or is that
just like a mystical Pat Riley, curse. Everything goes his way. Justice wins
the imagery that I get from Pat Riley is more of like an icy coldness. Like he breathes out
Ice
like
dragon.
the breath that
Ice dragon.
Like the Doublemint twins have or whatever.
That's kind of what I was going for. I don't know why I said dragon.
Yeah,
just
more
dragon.
of a wizard, like a wizard breath.
He's like kind of lizardy to me. So like,
yeah, okay, fair enough.
You see where I got that?
I got the leathery skin. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. This is definitely either
what are we talking about?
The worst podcast or the best one.
All right, next up. Here we go. Milwaukee Bucks. What do you think?
Greg Monroe.
Yup.
And that's pretty much it. Gravis Vasquez was a notable addition. They obviously lost Ilyasova, Jared Dudley, Zaza Pachulia. I think their biggest loss here, you know what I'm going to say?
Brandon Knight. I know who you're going to say.
No, Jared Dudley.
Oh, their biggest loss here? Did you say their biggest loss last year?
No, their biggest loss here.
Okay. Yeah. Probably.
Jared Dudley.
I think Ilyasova, but not a bad pick.
Jared Dudley, from what I understand, was really... We talk about glue guy, and we talk about veteran leadership, and we talk about mentorship, and we talk about showing a good example. Jared Dudley was all of that for the Bucks, which is one of the youngest teams in the league. I think losing him is going to be big, and replacing him with Greg Monroe. I mean, getting rid of all your veterans and just having young guys doesn't always work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Zaza, kidding. Obviously, picking up Greg Monroe. This is obviously an uptick in regards to talent, in regards to basketball potential. I think losing Jared Dudley is going to be. Don't be surprised if they start off rocky. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to predict that they're going to maybe start off rocky and then start to click. It's going to take
time for them to weld. And if you think about it, this is still going to be Jabari Parker's second half of his first season, that first half. So he's going to turn into a good player. I think, obviously for me, it's a thumbs up. They didn't really lose too much. They brought in a really good player in Greg Monroe. I think they're going to finish 4 to 5 in the East. I lean more towards the 5, but I'd say 4 to 5.
I'll give you 4. I was thinking 3-4, but I've said that a lot. So
I really like the Bucks.
I like the Bucks too.
Next up, let's go with the New York Knickerbockers.
The Knickerbockers. Kristaps Porzingis, Robin Lopez, Aaron Aflalo, Jerian Grant. Losses being the good old Timmy J and Timmy Hardaway Jr., Baranani, Shaden Larkin, Jason Smith. I think we go an all-around uptick with this. They were going to retool in offseason. Mm-hmm. They got the free agents. They got serviceable starters, older than maybe what they had wanted. There was no superstars in there. But I think Robin Lopez, Aaron Aflalo immediately make their team better. Kristaps Porzingis has that potential, depending on if he gets the minutes or not. It'll be interesting.
I hope he does. I like that pick. I think Porzingis should be good. I mean, granted, we haven't seen very much tape on him, and I don't think very many people have in general. But I think he could be good based on what people are saying. Apparently, Jerian Grant's going to be able to run the triangle, and apparently Melo's been really melding lately too with the new players. So I think Robin Lopez is a really, really serviceable big guy. I've always loved Rolo, but I think they're going to be good. It hurts losing Tim Hardaway, but they were able to bring in a point guard and they sort of replaced Tim Hardaway with an older version with Aaron Aflalo.
Is anyone else surprised that they're still talking about the triangle?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, thank you.
I wish I didn't bring it up, but it just kind of flowed.
Yeah, but it's just they keep bringing on these people, and they're obviously just getting the best people available. They're not specifically, and it's not even proven that Carmelo understands or knows what the triangle is, let alone can play in it. And they just keep being like, Knicks added Robin Lopez. Theoretically,
great triangle player.
He could play the triangle. Aaron Aflalo, Knicks. He understands that the triangle is something they're trying to do. It's just you get all these reports, and it's just anything that says the Knicks also says triangle in it. Yeah. And it's just so frustrating.
It was like those Toyota cars that came out 3 to 4 years ago where they had the little foot tap thing that opened the trunk. Remember that? Yeah. It's all right, we get it. That doesn't, what are you doing? Just sell the car.
We get theoretically you'd like to play in a triangular shape. Yeah.
Sell the team. Don't sell the process.
Did you hear that Carmelo went on Instagram and a bunch of people were on his Instagram and they were commenting and they were saying he was upset with the team. He didn't really want to be with the Knicks. He just signed for the money and he wanted to go play with the Cavaliers and he's not willing to deal with Porzingis, and he just jumps on and just
wanted to go play with the Cavaliers. Yeah. Can you imagine their roster or their salary?
Well, so the theory behind that is a Kevin Love for Carmelo trade, right? The Cavs want to win now. Kevin Love, he wants his own franchise, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, Carmelo just jumps on Instagram and is just you're stuck with me. Deal with it, or something along those lines. And it's okay. Anyways, I thought that was funny. Clearly, it was not.
Oh no, I'm smiling. I'm just not. I'm not audibly laughing. Sorry, podcasters.
Thank you. See, this is where we need a laugh track.
Or just the hi hat.
Do you think the Knicks made the playoffs?
No.
No.
Thumbs up, I should say, but no playoffs.
Agreed.
I think in general the East is getting better. I think they're starting to close the gap between the West. It's hard, to compare because it just seems like the East is so much younger than the West. But at the same time, the talent levels are starting to, or at least the talent disparity is starting to shrink in.
I think the talent disparity, agreed, is starting to get there, right, between the conferences. The West, with the LMA going to the Spurs and David West, it seems like the top teams got stronger, but then some of the bottom teams lost out a ton. And so there's going to be some bottom spots in the West that are open. We just talked to a guy the other day where he thinks 7 and 8 are open in the West. Obviously there's a ton of spots open in the East, but it's not as clear cut anymore, right? We just talked about we didn't know who 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Next up, we have the Orlando Magic. They didn't really do too much.
Do we need to
kinda
talk about them?
Not really. I mean, I'm sorry for the Magic fans out there. And you guys, let's just mention the moves. They lost Mo Harkless. They lost Kyle O'Quinn, lost Ben Gordon. They were able to bring in C.J. Watson and Jason Smith. I mean, they're another team that has a good young core. And I'm really excited to see what their backcourt's able to do. But I think that I don't see a general improvement here.
I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Aaron Gordon's putting in like a ton of work. And the funniest part is I'm almost 100% positive we have specific fans in Orlando that have listened to our podcast. Just as a side note.
Well, then, good thing we're talking about him.
Good thing we didn't skip over you. Now, I've heard Aaron Gordon's putting in work.
Another U of A player. You just love talking about him, huh?
It's not on purpose.
I know.
It's just...
Jordan Hill, too. Stayed on him for a while.
Oh, wow. It's just like I was always meant to go to U of A.
Yeah.
Maybe I go back.
We'll see. I wouldn't suggest it. All right. What else about the Magic?
To be honest with you, I'm not seeing any significant moves that would move them one way or another. This is going to be my first sideways tick.
Yeah, and I hate doing the sideways ticks. I'm going to give it, as far as a thumb up or thumb down, I'm going to give it a thumb up. Off-season moves, they didn't really do too much, but again, they're going to be decent. I think another year of learning for Oladipo is going to help him tremendously. I think he's geared up to at least be one of the top shooting guards in the entire NBA. It's going to be interesting to see what, as you said, Aaron Gordon's going to do. Alfred Payton, he's going to have another year of growth. They've got a really young core, and I'm pretty excited for them.
76ers, we got Jahlil Okafor, Nick Stauskas, Jason Thompson, Carl Landry. The big loss here being your favorite FOE, Tommy Robb.
And that's not even really a loss. I mean, they signed him, in February off of waivers, so he played with the worst team in the NBA for a month and a half.
Yep.
So no real losses. I mean, they did.
I think this is an obvious uptick, right?
For the Sixers?
Yeah. This is in the New York Knicks category where
it's
they
hard
obviously
to get
added
behind,
more talent.
It's hard to get behind the Jahlil Okafor, even though he's a pristine talent. He doesn't have a spot on the team right now.
What do you mean doesn't have a spot on the team?
I mean, thank goodness Joel Embiid went down. Otherwise, he for sure wouldn't. But you can't draft 3 centers back to back to back.
Oh, sir, you can.
Well, apparently you can.
I think Jahlil. I think Okafor is going to be.
There you go.
Okafor is going to be the one guy that they keep. I think they could move Nerlens. They could move Embiid, depending on if Embiid's even healthy or not.
Or if Nerlens finds his offensive game ever.
Yeah, or if Nerlens finds his offensive game ever. I can see Okafor and Nerlens playing together. Just defensively, they kind of make up for each other. Offensively, they kind of make up for each other. I like the pickup of Nick Stauskas. Jason Thompson's interesting. Carl Landry, obviously, is a serviceable player. And losing Tommy Robb isn't too big of a deal. If you think about 76ers and they're all about assets, this is a stock that's rising. Not much. They're not a winning team. They're probably going to be in the bottom.
They're a penny stock.
They're a penny stock, exactly. They're going like 2 cents, 3 cents, 2 cents, 4 cents.
And I wouldn't even say they're really trending up. I'm still going to give them a thumbs down.
Thumbs down for 76ers. All right, no progress. I guess that's fair, right?
I would say I don't want to say they're going to end up 15th because I'm going to say between 12 and 15 in the East.
In the East. Okay.
That's what I've been talking about this whole time, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. That makes more sense. I originally you said 15th, and I was just... Anyways.
No. 12, like either last or fourth to last in the East.
Yeah, I think they're one of the bottom 2 teams in the East for sure. But interesting.
It's hard to, it's like NBA GMs find out, it's hard to project potential. So it's going to be hard to project where the Sixers end up since they're, pure potential. But I don't see him gaining enough potential to overtake some of the, I use this word, sparingly, but stronger teams in the East. They're not, they're not going to be, I don't know, take over for me.
Nick Stauskas is going to be interesting. Nick Stauskas, again, a lot of hype in the draft last year. Big three-point shooter, pure scorer. Never got the minutes that he needed to in Sacramento. He was dealing with the crazy. Like, literally, there's an Instagram video where it's just like his house is getting popcorned. Like that's a nightmare. I'm sorry. You're in Sacramento and you go in one day and your teammates have popcorned your house. No, thank you. 76ers might be an upgrade. For the Nick Stauskas is going thumbs up because I think he starts here at the 2 spot. And I think if he can provide the spacing needed to give Okafor some room to do his Timmy D moves, his Tim Duncan moves, they're going to be an interesting team. Still bottom 2 next year, depending on who they draft. They might have a shot at actually winning basketball games.
And they were able to get your boy Gerald Wallace too.
Gerald Wallace.
Gerald.
All right, Raptors. We got a lot to talk about still. We're going to be running over. We're going to be going a $1:15, I think, on this episode.
We don't have too many more. Just Raptors and Wizards.
We got a few trades to talk about. A few off-season moves. All right, Raptors.
Big game is DeMarre Carroll.
DeMarre Carroll, Corey Joseph, Bismack Biyombo, Dion Wright.
Big losses, though. They lost Amir Johnson, who I really like.
Lou Williams.
Lost Lou Williams. Lost Psycho T. That's Tyler Hansbrough.
Okay, thank you. I thought you were saying that for Vasquez, and I'm just like, very interesting nickname, sir.
They lost Tyler Hansbrough, who looked a lot better earlier in his career than he has lately, but he's still a good backup for Amir Johnson, who I think was the belle of the ball there in Toronto as far as their losses. I think that he's going to be good in Boston, and they lost Lou Williams, but they brought in DeMarre Carroll. For me, it's still a downturn. It's just too many losses to try and compensate with DeMarre Carroll for.
To me, the loss was getting smoked in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, but also just mentally.
Toronto just might never be the same.
Seriously. It was getting smoked in the playoffs. Is DeMarre Carroll and Corey Joseph as backup point guard enough to pull you out of that? I'm not sure. I mean, obviously they had a good regular season. I think this is a downtick for me. DeMarre Carroll's a good pickup. They lose Lou Williams, who is a much-needed scorer, in my opinion. Amir Johnson, again, serviceable. I've used that term 15 times, but it's so true for all these players. Vasquez, underrated. Downtick for me. And sorry, Raptors fans, but they have the talent and the potential to make this an uptick, and they had to shake things up. But what do you do?
I don't know. Where do you see them ending up?
I think they're going to fall. I think they go...
They don't fall at playoffs, though, right?
No. I think they go 6-7.
That's not really a fall. Yeah, but I have them right there, too. I say 5-7.
Yeah, I was leaning more towards 7. I gifted them 6.
I'm going to lean more towards 5 or 6. I still think they're a good team. You still have DeMar DeRozan. You still have Terrence Ross as of right now. We'll talk about some of the trades that we've heard for potential trades anyway. But as of right now, you still have, a really good team, especially built around Kyle Lowry. So I definitely see him making playoffs.
Marquise supposedly wants to go to Toronto, but we'll talk about that here in a second.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. You just didn't catch my metaphor. It wasn't even a metaphor. You just didn't catch my illusion.
I was doing sound things over here on the sound thingy.
Over here checking Facebook in the middle of my podcast. Get out of here.
Wizards.
Who'd they bring in? They got Jared Dudley.
Oubre.
And they lost Paul Pierce. That's
Oubre.
pretty much it. Yeah, Kelly Oubre. But Lost veteran leadership in Paul Pierce, but as you alluded to earlier, they gained it back a little bit, at least incrementally, with Jared Dudley.
Yeah, Jared Dudley provides that veteran leadership back. He doesn't provide that ferocity. He also doesn't bring the truth. And
he doesn't have the great nickname.
Yeah.
What are Washington fans going to do without
the
Paul
Dudmeister
Pierce bringing his wheelchair out in the middle of the court?
The Dudmeister. This is a downtick. In my opinion, when you lose Paul Pierce, and we talked about this when we talked about the Clippers, Paul Pierce is a game changer, literally won them multiple playoff games single-handedly by one shot or two shots. So the fact that they lose him, I think, is huge. They needed his veracity. Downtick.
Yeah.
All right. Let's, before we go in the trade talk, can we do the Mark Cuban Minute?
Mark Cuban Minute. What's that again?
Mark Cuban Minute.
Is this a new segment?
This was a segment
I know we talked about Cuban now for literally every week. So
this was a segment that I introduced during my single podcast.
Oh, that's right.
And I realized... No, it's good. It's good.
That's right.
I realized we talk about Mark Cuban's almost every podcast anyways. We might as well just have a Mark Cuban Minute. Okay.
Yeah.
I found this gem. This isn't actually any news, but it was a funny tweet that I saw about Mark Cuban, and I figured it was Mark Cuban Minute worthy.
It sort of has news involved with it.
It does have news involved with it, and we'll use this to transition into our next topic. This was a tweet from Not NBA Tonight, so the fake NBA Tonight account, and the tweet goes, Mark Cuban to appear on Shacked and a Fool after falling down the stairs, tumbling onto a table, and accidentally signing JaVale McGee to a contract. That's your Mark Cuban Minute, folks. Let's get a Mark Cuban Minute drop.
Yeah, and if you guys want to do some drops for us, go ahead and send them to our email. What's our email again?
A podcast at backseatbasketball.com.
Send them to our podcast. We'll kind of comb through them. If there's any good ones, we'll definitely throw them on the show.
Yeah, we're going to get some drops in here. That's in the next couple weeks. We're going to get some drops and some intro music, but we need a Mark Cuban Minute drop because it's going to be so glorious. Maybe we'll get a retweet from Mark Cuban.
Yeah, maybe. Let's hold our breath.
So the obvious news drop in the Mark Cuban Minute is the Mavericks signed JaVale McGee to a contract, 2-year deal with a team opt-out after year one.
Do we know any idea about what the price on him was?
I'd have to look it up real quick to see what the exact pricing was.
While you do that, I think it's important to note that regardless of what it is, you're signing a player to a 2-year deal. Granted, you do have the team opt-out, which is very big. I didn't originally know that. I thought it was just a straight 2-year deal. But you've got a player who literally played 28 games last year. That's like signing Kevin Durant directly after the injury if he's not Kevin Durant. Right?
Yeah.
That's like signing Paul George without Paul George's talents.
Right. But at the same time, like, your big man was Zaza Pachulia. So it's like...
So you're replacing him with JaVale McGee.
Yeah, I am. I think it's a decent move. Let's see here. 2 years at the veterans minimum with a team option for the second year.
That's not bad.
Unfortunately,
at least they didn't spend money on him. I mean, I really don't see it as an upgrade. You know, it's
over Zaza?
Not really. I think Zaza is going to be, about the same. And if you look at, compared to last year, you're comparing it to Tyson Chandler, and that's not even close.
This could be a disaster for the Mavericks. And they don't have a big guy that can defend or score or play basketball in an overall upwards direction.
But all JaVale McGee does is dunk and block.
Right. He dunks and blocks.
He falls a lot. He commits a lot of fouls. He gets hurt.
I don't know why, but I like McGee. And I for some reason, I have hope for him coming into this season if he can get some starting minutes and actually playing time and if he can stay healthy. The thing about Mark Cuban is he's not going to bet on McGee unless he thinks that his training staff feel that he's good and ready to go or they can heal him. I guess it is a veteran's minimum, so for him,
not bad.
$500,000 isn't that big of a risk. It'll be interesting. So that's your Mark Cuban Minute, JaVale McGee update, and then we have the most recent news.
You like the JaVale McGee signing?
Yeah, I think they needed to. I mean, it makes sense. They got to take risks on Williams. They've got to take a risk on McGee. They've got to take these risks to fill out the roster, right?
Matthews, not really a fill out the roster, but still taking a risk. Another injured player from last year.
Right. That was more of a risk when they thought they had some other pieces in play.
Yeah, sure. I mean, at the same time, though, you're taking a lot of injury-prone players. I guess I just have no chill on JaVale McGee.
No chill. We're going to talk about Markieff Morris, a friend of mine, an old friend of mine. Why don't you go first? Like, it's obviously close. It's a close situation for me. Let me gather my thoughts. So the Phoenix Suns, not the Phoenix Suns, we'll say the Phoenix Suns traded away Marcus Morris. We understand that. We talked about the Detroit Pistons. Mm-hmm. They traded away Marcus Morris and Danny Granger to clear up cap space to be able to theoretically sign LaMarcus Aldridge. Well, Marcus Morris is the twin brother of Markieff Morris, the Suns' starting power forward. Marcus obviously was upset that he got separated from his brother. Markieff, being a twin, was also upset.
I don't even think they had to talk about it. They just had the ESP, like the twin.
Well, supposedly they were
telepathy.
On vacation with their girlfriends. And
Do they have the same girlfriend?
Hopefully they're also dating twins, like the Doublemint
awesome.
twins.
That'd be great. That's the second time the Doublemint twins have made a reference in today's podcast.
Hey, Doublemint twins, you got to do two twice.
I don't even remember Doublemint twins anymore. That was a long time ago.
So Marcus Morris gets traded. He's upset. He says some words about Phoenix. Markieff also upset. There was some talk a couple weeks ago that he hadn't talked to any players or any staff or the coach or the GM. And a report came out Tuesday from, I believe, the Philly Inquirer, where the beat writer over there in Philly had talked to Markieff. And Markieff basically flat out said, I won't be going back there. They will have traded me by then. I guarantee it. Yada, yada, yada. Basically saying that he's
not going to show up to training camp.
He's requesting a trade. He basically said he's not going to show up to training camp, but he will show up to training camp, obviously, because if he doesn't show up, he gets paid. But basically alluding to the fact that he's going to either not be there because they'll have traded him, or he's going to make it such a difficult situation for them that they're going to want to trade him. He's going to be a bad influence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So I think you and I both agree on the fact that at this point, the relationship is so strained that he needs to be traded.
No.
Oh, you don't agree?
No. Go ahead. You go first.
Okay, I think most reasonable people, Jeff notwithstanding, believes that at this point the Suns' relationship with Markieff Morris is strained beyond repair. I think that we should maybe talk about possible landing spots, but I'd actually like to hear your take first. That's where I was going with it. I think we should maybe talk about trade landing spots for him, because I think it's almost inevitable at this point that he will be traded.
Fair enough. So,
but go ahead and tell me why you think he should stay on the Suns, and then we'll move into possible landing spots.
Yeah. When a player requests a trade, normally it's in the Goran Dragic era of time frames, right? It's they either have to make a decision this summer about re-signing somewhere, or next summer they have to make a decision about signing somewhere. Markieff Morris is on a 4-year deal at a very reasonable contract. Granted, he's got some trouble with the law. He's in the middle of a lawsuit. He has some anger issues, and I believe he had one of the highest technical foul records. But he's also
called out his home team fans more than any other player in the NBA.
Yeah, I was at that game though, and there were a lot of people cheering for the Spurs, so I can't blame him on that one. Yeah, I agree. So
a lot of people cheering for the better team there.
Yes, well, that's true. He's a good starting forward, in my opinion, and on a really cheap contract with a lot of potential hitting the prime of his career. He feels like he can just request a trade and make enough stink about it that he'll get traded. If the Suns can find a decent package for him, so if they can find another starting power forward, because the thing is he's their only starting power forward. We talked about Teletovic. He's a backup at best. He's a good role player at best. He's not a starting power forward. If they can find another starting power forward or some kind of trade that equals Markieff Morris's value with cost and talent and potential, trade him, right? We've seen some Toronto Raptors where, they're getting back some decent talent in return. If they can't, because Markieff has made such a big stink, because he has attitude issues, because he's gotten technical fouls, because he has these legal issues, if they can't get value back, he's under contract to play. I say suck it up. And I would sit Markieff Morris down and I would say, listen, if you really want to leave, give us 1 year without your attitude, prove that you can play, and we'll trade you to any team you want to go next year. But we need 1 year from you because right now you've ruined your credibility and ruined your value. And if he's still not going to show up to training camp or he's going to make a big deal, you suspend him or you send him home or you don't let him get on the bus. But you don't let him push you around, in my opinion.
And I agree with that.
The Suns didn't do anything wrong. Maybe it wasn't smart to trade Marcus. I'll say this, and this. You don't hear me say a ton of bad things about the Suns. I don't think it was smart for them to trade Marcus just because of the possibility of getting LaMarcus Aldridge. They had to realize there would be some repercussions of Markieff. Now, maybe they figured Markieff is eventually going to... And there's a real possibility that Markieff wants to be traded, and he's making a big stink now, but when it comes to training camp time, he realizes that he has a job to do, and he's going to go and do the job. But that's my take on it. If they can get equal value back...
See, to me, there's also a good chance that the Suns wanted to get rid of Markieff anyway.
Yeah.
Because you don't trade Marcus without at least consulting one of the two of them.
And there's been talks about that, too. There's been talks that Markieff and Jeff Morris...
There's a lot of baggage with the Morris brothers.
Right.
Especially with, like you said, their arrest. And as you were about to say, before I interrupted you, the strained relationship with the coach.
Yep.
Strained relationship with the fans. Strained relationship with the front office. I mean, I don't see why the Suns would really want to keep him. And how much does it improve his trade value to have him do good this year, be 1 year older? I mean, it's not like teams forget. I mean, if anything, he'll be dealing with more legal issues this time next year.
A wise guy once told me it's what have you done for me lately league.
Yeah. Smart man.
Smart man. I just think potentially his legal troubles will have either precipiced at that point or bottomed out.
Or tanked. Yeah. Or he's in prison.
Yeah. So there's that.
There's that. It could be the worst move for the Suns not to get rid of him.
Yeah. And I'm obviously conflicted. I like Markieff's talent. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he resembles LaMarcus Aldridge in a lot of ways. I think he's...
Get out. Get out of here.
Yep. I think he resembles LaMarcus Aldridge in a lot of ways. And I just don't like having my hand forced. And at this point in time,
I can't believe you made the comparison between LaMarcus Aldridge and Markieff Morris.
A young LaMarcus Aldridge. Yeah, they got the same similar type games. They play from that mid-range, big guy, could shoot threes, but really
except Markieff shoots 33% on the year.
No, he shoots like 54.
Oh, get out of here again. I had my computer closed. I know you guys can't see this. I had my computer closed. I'm opening it up just to check this and prove him wrong. Get out of here.
Pull up the stats.
54%.
He's something insane.
Yeah, that would be insane. What's next? Keep going.
Sorry, folks. I just don't like having my hand forced. And he's under contract. He legally has to play for you. He can pout all he wants about it. But eventually when you sit on a team, you can't sit on a team bus and hate everyone for an entire year when you were just friends with them last year, right? Think about your friends. You're friends with them, something bad happens. You can't then spend a year on the bus pouting and just forget that those guys are your friends. I think they either get something in return of decent value or they make him play, dude, or send him home. Send him to the D League. Okay. If you're going to pout, you're in timeout, go to the D League.
So he shot 31% behind three-point arc.
Yes.
But he shot 179 three-pointers. On the season, he shot 46%, which is not insane one way or the other. But over his career, he shot 44%. He's not LaMarcus Aldridge.
All of his field goals were 46?
46%.
That's great. I love that. I was obviously incorrect with 54. I'm thinking of TJ Warren in Summer League. I just threw a number out.
How could you get them confused?
Who knows?
Same way you probably got
46%.
Markieff Morris and LaMarcus Aldridge confused.
No, 46%. What was LaMarcus Aldridge field goal percentage last year? Let's pull that up.
All right. While I do that, pull up a possible trade destination for Keith. We'll each do one.
So, some possible trade destinations. The first one that I heard was to the Celtics, and let me pull up the details here. Markieff Morris to the Celtics, and the trade becomes a little bit difficult because while Celtics have trade chips, a lot of them are on small contracts, right? $2-3 million. It looks like they were going to have to put two players together. So the trade that was proposed was that the Celtics offer Perry Jones, Jared Solinger, and James Young for Markieff Morris.
Okay.
Thoughts? Now, would Celtics want to give away 3 guys for Markieff?
Probably not.
Right.
But as you said earlier, it's he's on a team-friendly contract. The Celtics apparently love trading with the Suns. They do it, every other trade apparently.
Ryan McDonough is Danny
Ainge's best friend.
Yeah, what's his mentee, man?
Well, either way.
Mentee? I think I don't love it. I'd rather get one. I'd rather not trade a proven starter for potential. But if we have to, and this is our only option, it's either this or like Markieff decides he doesn't want to play basketball ever again. We might as well do this. I would prefer not to go down this path, but it's an option.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about the Blazers trade that was brought up?
No. I would rather talk about the Markieff
We had
Morris.
a heated discussion earlier. Let's just say that.
I don't even want to go back to it. Apparently, there's this rumor floating around that Noah Vonleh would be traded for Markieff Morris.
It was a trade that was thrown out there as a potential landing spot for Markieff, et cetera, et cetera.
If that happens, I'm going to say it right here. I'm not going to denounce my fandom to the Blazers, but I'm picking another new team to cheer for. No
That
way.
is huge, folks. That is so huge. It's so funny because I think about the same thing, and I'm like, if all they get back is Noah Vonleh, I'm upset about it.
For Markieff Morris? All right. No. You know what? I changed my mind. I think Markieff Morris should stay with the Suns and let that beriddled franchise wither under the rotting play of Markieff Morris and Teletovic and PJ Tucker. Get out of here. Fair value. I don't know. That's my trade. My trade is that the Suns bluff it up. They think that Markieff Morris is worth these type of players, and they get laughed out of any trade talk room, and then they're stuck with Markieff Morris. That's my trade for him. I was gonna complete 180 just now. I brought up all these emotions that I was feeling earlier today. Now I'm feeling them again. I don't like that. It's too late for emotions.
Did you figure out the LaMarcus Aldridge?
I forgot. I forgot.
I think we're gonna wrap it up, folks.
I totally forgot.
This is Backseat Basketball, where amateurs take the wheel. I'm Jeffrey Buettner.
I'm Rob Stanford.
Dr. Hot Robbie. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on YouTube, backseatbasketball.com. You can also subscribe, rate, etc., etc. You can also find us on Twitter under the hashtag #BackseatBasketball. We just started experimenting with Periscope. Man, if we had Periscope,
we'll get a Snapchat here pretty soon, I would imagine. I think that's the only platform we're not really on.
We're on all the platforms. All the platforms. Again, we appreciate the audience. We appreciate you guys listening. Thank you. Much love.
We'll be back next week. We won't skip anymore. I've learned from my mistakes. There will be no more deleting episodes.
No delete. Thanks,
Just
guys.
don't hit that delete button.
Enjoy your night or day.
Later.